Hi there, and thanks so much for checking out this bujo video. I just want to quickly start by saying thank you so much to everyone who watched my last video, and thank you for all your kind comments. I really appreciate you letting me know your thoughts on voiceovers, and I think overwhelmingly everyone really prefers videos with a voiceover on. So I am going to try and continue doing that. I do find it a bit tricky, but I'm just going to keep persevering and keep trying. So for October I wanted to have quite an autumnal vibe, and I'm using gouache paint, which I used back in my July spread for the first time, and I really enjoyed it and I think it worked really well, so I'm going to use it again. And I've gone for a really bold design this time. It was actually inspired by a piece of art that I saw on Instagram using similar colours on a black paper. So I will link that artist in my description box if you want to check that out. My design is pretty bold this time. I'm not normally a bold sort of person, but I feel like my art style is changing in recent years. I used to be super detailed and I would do everything really, really small, but I think, I don't know, maybe I'm getting more impatient in my old age, and I don't want to sit for ages doing something really, really detailed, and I just enjoy doing something really big and bold and I suppose getting results a bit more quickly. So yeah, this floral piece is a really bold one. I've kept a fairly limited colour palette, so I wanted to use a sort of orangey tan colour as my main floral. I'm using a green for the leaves and a sort of mustard yellow for some additional small leaves and the centre of the flowers. I'm also using a pinkish tone to do some highlights on the flower petals themselves. And I'm just adding a little bit of gold just for, you know, a bit of luxury. So I sketched out my flower shapes first, just sort of like a vague shape of what I want them to be, and then filled that in with the gouache paint. To give them a more 3D look, I have drawn them so that the petals at the top and the sides are larger, and then they're foreshortened at the bottom so that it kind of looks like the flower is on an angle to you. And then using that pink colour, I've just added in some lines here and there just to add a bit of highlight. I've also added a little bit of highlight on the leaves. I wasn't really sure about the shape of the big green leaves that I used on this page, and I did change it up throughout just to become a more basic shape. The yellow leaves are really simple. Each leaf is just one brush stroke attached to a thin branch, and they just look really nice and they're always fun to do. They're so simple, it's just something really relaxing to paint. If you don't know what you fancy painting but you just want to be creative, I love just painting a page full of leaves. Overall, I'm really pleased with how the cover page turned out. I am pleased with my flowers, even though I'm not used to doing such a big bold style. I think they worked out pretty well. And the gouache paint is really opaque and it shows up really nicely on the black paper, so I'm really pleased with that as well. And then just to finish off the whole design, I used the gold paint just to do little dots all around, and I think it really adds something to the whole piece. It just kind of lifts it a bit and, I don't know, adds a bit of magic sparkle to it or something. I really love it. At the bottom of the page I just used a Sakura Jelly Roll white gel pen to add October, and I did that in some faux calligraphy, so just adding a thicker line to where you would have done the downstroke. And I've recently got this little extendable rubber, or eraser you might call it, and it just clicks down like a mechanical pencil, and it's a really small rubber tip and you can use for fine details around words and drawings and things like that, so it's perfect for this kind of thing and I absolutely love it, so I would recommend getting one if you ever see one. Next up is my calendar page and my to-do list. I'm just starting off doing another little floral, exactly the same as I did on the other page, but a bit smaller. I don't know about anyone else, but whenever I use paint, it is physically impossible for me to not get it absolutely everywhere. I don't know why I'm so messy, I don't know how I managed to do it, but it gets all over my hands, all over my arms, half the time it ends up on my face, so I really struggle to keep things neat, so I think I did quite well not to smudge paint all over this spread this time. So my calendar is going just over half of the page, and then on the remaining part of the right side of the page I'm doing a to-do list. And I'm just creating a little spray of flowers at the top there just to section off the to-do list area. This month I'm doing a similar calendar design to the one I did in my July bullet journal, so going back to that same one where I did gouache before. So I'm just painting in the top row of each date with the gouache paint, and I've chosen the orangey tan colour, and I'm just adding a little bit of white to it on each row so it gets lighter and lighter as it goes down and you end up with this sort of ombre effect. I'm just leaving it as is like that. I don't want to do too many lines in this one. I kind of want to leave it feeling a bit open, a bit loose, so there's not many harsh outline edges in this design this month. And I'm just using the white gel pen again to write down all the dates. I did find it was a bit tricky to write on top of the paint with the gel pen. I found that the gel pen wanted to scratch the paint off quite easily, so I had to press really, really lightly to get a good finish on that. And onto the trackers page. So the decoration on this one is the same floral, but I'm doing it vertically along the left side of the page. So I'm going to be having multiple trackers along this page. I'm going to have my usual plant watering tracker and my usual habit trackers, but I'm going to split out my yoga tracker into a separate one that's a bit more in-depth. So I'm doing my yoga tracker differently because I feel like recently I haven't been doing it as much as I would like to. I think since everything with the pandemic has calmed down and we've all got back to a bit more of normal life, I've just felt like I've not had enough time, or maybe I'm making excuses and saying I only have 10 or 15 minutes free and then just not bothering to do anything, when actually if I were to do 10 minutes a day then that does add up across the week, and I think if I can maybe track that across the week it would feel a little more worthwhile. So my first tracker is my usual plant watering tracker, and I'm going horizontal again this time, and sometimes I do a vertical one and use a whole page, but I wanted this 2-page spread to be all sorts of trackers, so it works better with that kind of a setup to do it horizontally. And I just add the dates along the horizontal, and then the names of all my plants down the vertical. And yes, I do give names to all my plants. Maybe I'm sad, I don't know. But I love giving them names, but it makes it really hard when I kill them. accidentally, I meant to say accidentally kill. I don't just kill plants for the fun of it. I'm not a very good plant mum. Some plants I'm absolutely fine with, but some of them I just can't seem to keep alive, but I just keep trying. So for the yoga tracker, I am putting the dates of the month across the top and then the minutes down the side, and I think I'm just going to fill it out like a bar graph. So each day that I do yoga, I'm just going to colour in that amount of squares for how many minutes I've done, and then that will sort of give me a good picture across the week of how many minutes I'm doing at a time. And then along the right edge, I'm just adding in my other usual trackers. And because it's black paper, I decided not to write in all the numbers with white pen because I think that would make it more difficult to mark off each day when I've done it. So I've actually just written them in pencil, and then I will add a white dot over each date that I complete that task. I've tried it before not putting the dates in, and I find it really difficult and I usually get stuff wrong and mess it all up, so I prefer to write the dates in. On to my memories page and gratitude log. This is quite a simple setup. I'm just doing the decorative piece down the centre this time, and I was quite lucky that this spread was one of those times where you get the two pages sort of stuck together, so where the paint goes down the join, because they're slightly stuck, it doesn't seep through to any of the other pages, so I think I was quite lucky with that one. So yeah, it's quite simple. I just put memories across the top and then gratitude log across the other side. I found that last month I did a much smaller memories section because I just didn't think that I would really need that much, but actually September was a month where I had quite a lot to write, so this month I'm just going for a full page spread like I have at other times, and I either will fill it up or I won't. It doesn't really matter, but I think it's better to have more space than not enough. And yeah, the gratitude log is just a sort of one line a day setup. I just put the date and put something to each day that I am grateful for. And I had this extra page before I start my weekly spreads, and I hope to go on holiday this month, so I thought I would just make that a holiday planning page. I decorated it in the same way as the to-do list and just wrote holiday plans at the top, and then I will add anything in there that I need to jot down, things I need to remember, things I need to pack, etc, etc. And then the weekly spread, again, will be quite a loose sort of setup. I normally do quite a rigid weekly setup, so I will have everything in boxes, and whilst I do love that, I kind of thought because I hadn't really done much in the way of lines and boxes in this setup, I would just leave it a bit more open. So I'm just doing a miniature flower and with just a little banner that sort of goes just over halfway across the page, and do that for each day of the week. So I did 8 of those on each page, and then the last one at the bottom is a little note section to add in anything extra I need to jot down in there. And then on the last week, because we only have one day left, Monday the 31st, I just added it on to the end rather than doing a whole new page for one day. And that's it, that's October. I really do love how it turned out. I love these colours. I think they are quite on trend at the moment, and I love that little shimmer of gold in there as well, just to make it a bit more luxe. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, so please leave it a like and add a comment if you like. Please let me know what your theme is, I'd love to know, and let me know if you have it anywhere on social media, I can check it out. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks, bye!